You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, your host. Well, it's 2023. We're just about through January. You got to understand when you're dealing with the fraudsters, with people trying to get your hard-earned dollars and leave you with nothing, it keeps changing, it keeps evolving, and the strategies that you need to employ keep changing as well. It's always a running battle against these fraudsters. I've been taken before, thank goodness, not very often, but it has happened. But my next guest, Robert Siciliano, you are an expert in personal security around the home, your finances, your credit cards, your bank accounts, all of that stuff, all your assets. You need to have a strategy in place to protect all of your assets, be they digital, be it your home, be it your bank accounts, your credit cards, anything that's worth something you need to protect, especially in these insane times. Robert, great to have you back on.
Kerry, thank you so much. You know, there is never not something to talk about. This issue is, shooting fish in a barrel. Like it's constant. There always has been, there is, and there always will be this criminal element out there, seeking their next victim. And our job is to become a tougher target, to do things, to put habits in place, to break bad habits, do stuff that prevents the bad guy from choosing you, become a tougher target. And the problem is that most people don't think that these things can happen to them. They adopt like a fatalist attitude, like, oh, why lock my doors? If the bad guy wants to break in, he's going to break in. Like, what am I going to do? And like that fatalist attitude is not the same attitude that you'd have like sending your daughter off to college, knowing that statistically 1 in 4 women going off to college are sexually assaulted. Are you going to tell her, go off to college and, hey, if you get raped, you get raped. And what are you going to do? No, you're going to tell her to do what's necessary to make sure it doesn't happen to her and to, beat the crap out of the bad guy should he choose her. So, with all security, it's about putting these various systems in place, becoming that tougher target and, just having an attitude of vigilance and determination. And once you do that, then, the bad guy's he's going to choose somebody. You just want him to choose somebody else.
Right. So you make yourself a harder target and then they go looking for easier targets and they leave you alone. That's the theory, right?
Yeah, it's simple. And, like I don't live like people. I tell people all the time, like I've got 22 security cameras. Right. I got pepper sprays throughout my home. I got firearms here and there. I've taught my daughter self-defense. My wife knows what to do. We've got an escape plan. Right. I've got a 65-pound Belgian Malinois. If you know what that is, they're kind of like a hyena. And I've got all the, when I tell people I've got 22 security cameras, right, inside and outside of my house combined, and I tell them about all the security I have, what do you think they say to me about who I am, like about my disposition, about the way I see the world? Like, what do you think they say?
Right. You're
right.
Paranoid.
Okay. Paranoid. Right. So paranoia. Have you ever actually met anybody who's actually diagnosed paranoid?
I think I should have been diagnosed a few times, but Freud said even a paranoid can have real enemies, right?
Absolutely. Well, so I actually know people who have been diagnosed paranoid, right? And when you meet them, when you spend time around them, you will find that they are out of control. Like they are completely overwhelmed with the world around them, that they really do believe that there are people out to get them. And in such a way where they are diseased, right? And their world is a mess. Like it is unsettling to be around people that are paranoid. And I have family members, a specific family member who is, in fact, in that way. And she's very difficult to be around because if she's not on her meds, it's very, very unsettling. That said, I'm not mentally ill. I've never been diagnosed as a paranoid. Paranoia is, in fact, mental illness. And I'm not that. I understand and regulate risk. Okay. And all these tools I have at my disposal are just that. They're tools to help me, get more control. And that's what security is all about. It's about gaining control of your situation, whatever that might be. And that's it. Like, it's not about paranoia. And when people say it can't happen to me, what they're really doing is they're functioning in denial. They're saying, well, these things can't happen to me because I live in a safe neighborhood. And is there really any such thing as a safe neighborhood? I'd argue and say no. I'd say that there are safer neighborhoods, but there's no such thing as a safe neighborhood. Your neighborhood might have less risk than others, but there's a burglary, there's a home invasion happening, whether it's once a month or once every 6 months, it's happening. So there's no such thing as 100% security. So paranoia really is people's way of looking at security and saying, I'm not that, I don't want to live like that, it can't happen to me, and they do nothing instead of putting the basic systems in place and managing risk. And that's what I'm up against when I speak to groups is, my husband says don't bother put the home alarm system because if they want to break it, they're going to break in. And I'm like, really? That's just no way to be. Do you really want the bad guy at the foot of your bed at 3 a.m.? No. Like, you're going to do what's necessary to make sure that doesn't happen. You want to have an edge. You want to put systems in place. And that's, most people, it can't happen to me. They function in denial. Security is about paranoia. And they make it really easy for the bad guy.
Hey, and I couldn't agree with you more. Since we last spoke, I actually put up 5 cameras around my house. I had a couple already, a Ring doorbell alarm, and but I put up security cameras. Basically, every access point to the house is covered now. I'm a little hesitant to start putting them inside the house. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I'm telling you, after our last discussion, I said, I've been putting this off for too long. It's cheap to do, a few $100. Your whole house can be covered. And why not do it? And it's real interesting because mine are the kind that they're in dormant mode until they sense somebody's there. And then if it's nighttime, a light will go on to illuminate them. And I can talk through those cameras too, saying like, hey, what are you doing here? Thank God nobody has tried it yet. I would like to say I live in a relatively safe area with guard gates, double guard gates, but who knows? A couple of weeks ago, car got stolen and 7 cars were broken into in an adjoining neighborhood, and they have the same security as I do.
That's it. Safer, but not safe. Safe is an absolute. Like in baseball, you're either out or you're safe. It's an absolute. And there's no such thing as a safe neighborhood. Bad things happen everywhere. You just got to, keep your guard up. And I have those same cameras that you do. I can talk through them. And I do actually have a bunch on the inside. And I know that the concern with everyone is, who has access to those cameras on the inside, who can actually see what's happening. So, I don't have them in the bedroom. I got them in the kitchen. I got them in the hallways. I got them in the garage and so forth. And, I got them pointed towards the front door and the back door, et cetera. And for me, I got a young family. And so I like, when I'm on the road traveling, I like to see what's going on inside the house, whether it's with the dog, because sometimes she gets into stuff, and or, what's going on with the family, what are they up to, where are they in the house, and sometimes, like, if I know that my wife is like cooking dinner, I'm not going to bother her, like I'm not going to text her, I'm not going to call her, because it's just enough for her to like have to put down whatever she's doing, dry her hands or clean her hands to pick up the phone. So it's easier for me to just look at the camera and go, oh yeah, I'm not going to like mess with her right now, because then she'll be all pissed off at me if I call her while she's, cutting chicken, right? So that one thing, just helps me out a little bit, or like relieves a little bit of stress, right? But it also gives me some insight as to what's going on in the inside of the house. And if it is broken into, it would give me some insight as to, where'd they enter and who was it and all that stuff. And I'm not so worried about, companies or bad guys peeking in because, there's billions of cameras out there, and just not worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's strictly a defensive device, effectively. And there's many different brands, different sites and all that. Do you recommend all the same brand, or should you mix them up?
I mix them up mainly because, like, I'm in the security business, and these companies, they contact me, they say, hey, you want to review our camera? You want to check it out? Let us know what you think. And I just plug them in, I install them, I see how they work, I set them all up, and then I just, live with them for a while. And I have a bunch of different ones, which means like I have 3 or 4 mobile apps that I refer to. And I'm fine with that. I would say, generally, try out a brand, see if you like it. And if you like it and it's really good, then I'd say buy a bunch of them. I think it's Wise, WYZE is really good. And the Ring, of course, is good. And, there's a bunch out there. Neo is good, NIIOO or something like that. But, some of them work off of, you have to plug them in. Some of them work off a battery and you got to recharge them every once in a while. They all have their pros and cons. I say go on Amazon, do a quick search, see what everybody else is getting, try a couple of those if you're like a newbie. And like the WYZE, those are really cheap. And, I've seen a lot of people have success with those.
Okay. So getting back to protecting your financial assets, identity fraud is still alive and well, still a low risk crime, especially if you're in a foreign country, and it relies on basically laxness of you, the individual. We mentioned before we were talking on the call, the concept of locking down your credit bureau reports. How hard a process is that?
So, Kerry, like we all have a social security number, right? And the social security number was never meant to have as much responsibility as it does today. It was meant for social security benefits back in the late 30s, right? And then through what we call functionality creep, the functionality of the social security number crept into many other aspects of our lives in which it wasn't designed to do so, including granting credit. And so the social security number is your de facto national ID. And as long as the bad guy has your social, they can apply for credit under your name. Now, again, that social is never meant to have that much responsibility. And the way in which we treat the social security number, which in effect is a username, right? The social is a username for Social Security benefits, but we treat it as a password. In other words, if the bad guy has your social, which you're supposed to protect, how do you protect a credit card number? Every time you give out your credit card number, there's a chance that somebody's going to use it unauthorized. Every time you give out your social, there's a chance that somebody's going to use it unauthorized. You don't give out a passcode, but you give out a username all the time. So that said, you can't really protect your social security number other than protecting your credit reports. And you do that by getting what's called a credit freeze. Now, Kerry, if you could please, right, if you wouldn't mind, give me the screen share, right? Let me share my screen. I want to show you something really quick.
Okay, let me do that right now. You should have access to it.
All right. So hopefully y'all can see me. I mean, can you see like over my shoulder? Actually, as long as you can see over my shoulder, as long as you can see my browser, can you see my browser?
Yes, we see.
That's really all you need. Okay. So what you should see, and correct me if I'm wrong, and let me make sure that it all looks good on my end, is you should see where it says in the address bar, it says credit freeze. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so up here it says credit freeze. I know it's a little. All right, I'll make that just slightly a little bit bigger for you guys. Hold on one second. Oh, wait a minute. What just happened? Okay, good. So right here, I'm going to make it bigger for you. And thank you for your patience, everybody. Okay, so we search credit freeze. And what credit freeze does is down here, we search credit freeze. And what pops up on search? TransUnion, freeze my credit at TransUnion. We click on that. And check this out, right? This is a tool that's offered by TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. It's free to freeze and unfreeze your credit. It basically says right here, a credit freeze, also known as a security freeze, is the best way to help prevent new accounts from being opened in your name. It's absolutely free to freeze and unfreeze your credit, and it won't affect your credit score. All right? I mean, what more did you need to know? Right here, it says add a freeze. Okay, now, by the way, when you search credit freeze and credit freeze TransUnion, in search, what automatically propagates is credit freeze Equifax and credit freeze Experian. Okay. And what I want you to do if you haven't already froze your credit, is do that search so you go directly to the page at the credit bureau's website to sign up for a credit freeze. This way, opposed to going to the homepage, this way you get your credit freeze without the credit bureaus try to sell you some type of nonsense when you go to the homepage. Okay, so you go to Credit Freeze TransUnion, and right here you click Add a Freeze. And right here it pulls up a form, basically a registration form, where you plug in your first name, your middle name, your last name, your city, state, and zip. It's asking for your email, your mobile phone number, and your birth date and last four of your social security number. And I know that when you do this, people go, I'm not giving them my social. I say,
They have it.
they already have it. Exactly.
Yeah,
don't worry about
ridiculous.
it. Right. So just give him the social and then click accept to continue. And basically from that point on, you're going to have to answer a bunch of knowledge-based authentication questions, some KBA, and then you basically freeze your credit. Now, in the future, when you want to get a loan, you temporarily unfreeze your credit the same way. So you go back to the credit bureau, TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, you log in with a username and a passcode that you created during this process, and you temporarily unfreeze your credit. As a 54-year-old adult, I have had my credit frozen since February of 2008, which is the very first month it was available. So that's 14 years. And in 14 years, I'd say on average, I unfreeze my credit every 2 to 3 years at the most, generally to get a lease on a vehicle after I turned the leased vehicle in. Okay. Other than that, getting the occasional mobile phone or the occasional credit card. And from there, I automatically have it refreeze a couple of days later, and it takes about 5 minutes to temporarily unfreeze, and it automatically refreezes, and you're done. So when you're going to make a large purchase decision, like getting a credit card or leasing a vehicle, just temporarily unfreeze like the day before. It takes 5 minutes. It generally unfreezes right away, and you're good to go from that point on. That's it. Credit freeze, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. It's a done deal, and it's free.
All right. I like it. I like it.
Now, let me show you something really quick, right?
Sure.
Do you see what I have on the screen right now?
Yes.
It says, what does that say right there?
Looking here. My eyes ain't as good as they used to be.
Okay.
Premium fake IDs.
Yeah. Look at this.
Scannable. How could they be scannable too? That's insane.
Look at this. I searched fake ID on Google, right? And look what shows up. Google is selling advertising for fake IDs.
There should be a law against that, shouldn't there?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Goldterra Resource Corp is a gold exploration company that has assembled a highly prospective district-scale land position on the doorstep of the city of Yellowknife in Canada's Northwest Territories. Goldterra is currently focused on expanding and delineating gold resources at the company's Yellowknife City Gold Project, with a goal of discovering over 5 million ounces. With ready access to infrastructure and multiple high-grade gold discoveries, Goldterra is on track to re-establishing Yellowknife as one of the premier gold mining districts in Canada. Goldterra trades as YGT in Toronto and YGTFF on the OTC. For more information, go to goldterracorp.com. That's goldterracorp.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network. The information you need to thrive. Now more than ever.
Look at ID Pimp, premium fake IDs, premium scannable fake IDs, ad for IDGod.ph, an ad for ID Lord, scannable IDs, right? An ad for 724ID.com, right? So you right click, open, right? Right click, open, right click, open, okay? So right here, right? One more, right? There you are. Buy scannable fake IDs. Why choose us? We are Top Fake ID, a fake ID maker for providing you with the highest quality counterfeit IDs. We create two teams, one for making IDs and a separate one for quality control.
Wow.
Right? Look at it. Like ID God, fake ID that is out of this world. And here you go, Bogus Braxter, fake IDs, crafting high quality fake IDs since 2017.
Nuts.
The reality of it is our system of identification is based on the honor system. Okay. As long as nobody grabs your social and poses as you, as long as nobody goes out and buys a fake ID, poses as you, then, you're good. And the honor system is designed with the mindset that we are all sheep and there are no wolves. Are there wolves?
Yeah, I've come across a couple, even in my neighborhood, there's a couple of wolves there.
Yeah. So this basically just shows you, kind of how screwed we are, right? And the fact of the matter is, if you're not doing the basics, getting a credit freeze, locking down your passwords, using a different passcode across multiple accounts, monitoring credit card statements, all that stuff, it's just a matter of time till you start paying for the lifestyle of an identity thief. And by doing the stuff that we talk about here, putting those systems in place, you become a tougher target. It's as simple as that.
I want to talk to you about two-factor authentication. Sometimes you see 3 and 4-factor ID identification, like with online trading accounts. Has that stuff been broken yet? Is it possible they would have to clone your phone to actually get the PIN code that you get texted to you?
SIM swap. Okay, so I still have up on my screen, I searched two-factor PayPal. Right. And I could search two-factor, and then I could search, EB, which eBay pops right up. And you see, How To Geek has set up two-factor on eBay. You see community.ebay.com. eBay launches two-step. I'll go back to, that and type in GMAIL, two-factor Gmail, and you see support.google.com, turn on two-step verification. So first of all, setting up two-factor authentication is as easy as a Google search, okay? And whether or not, two-factor authentication is secure or not really is a matter of, well, are you a high-value target or are you just an everyday person? That said, for most everyday people, okay, even for high-value targets, two-factor authentication is generally the most effective way to lock down your various accounts. Okay, even if you're using the same passcode across multiple accounts, which you shouldn't be, and the bad guy gets access to your username, it could be an email address and your passcode, whatever they might find on the dark web. If you have two-factor authentication, then they're going to have your mobile phone in their possession in order to log in. Now, you mentioned, cracking two-factor authentication, and I mentioned a SIM swap, which basically means the bad guy goes into AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever, and they pose as you, and they get a SIM card with your phone number attached to it. And so when they try to log into, say, your crypto account or your bank account or whatever, they would get that text code, that text message with that second factor. Basically, if they have your username and passcode, now they have a cloned phone as you, now they're in. That obviously is a problem. And that is certainly a vulnerability. Now, that is a much higher vulnerability with high value targets. So people that are, significantly moneyed individuals that are targeted, and the bad guy knows what their mobile phone number is and poses as them and walks into the local AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, then that is a potential vulnerability. That being said, the way that they would go about that is they would generally create a fake ID as you. Okay, so that certainly is a problem. It doesn't mean that it's a huge issue that we all need to run around and be concerned about. It definitely means that you should have two-factor authentication turned on, and you should have whatever additional security all of your various accounts require for you to be authenticated. So, for example, with AT&T, a mobile carrier, you can call them up and you can say, okay, what security is necessary for me to have in place so that nobody can clone my SIM? And they say, well, when somebody walks in, they're going to have to, have a driver's license and or a secret code and or this, that, the other thing. And you want to make sure that you have all of that stuff in place and talk to AT&T or whoever, so that if somebody does decide to walk into AT&T, they can't just pose as you. Okay, so it's really important to talk to your mobile carrier to find out what layers of authentication are required to basically swap your SIM when somebody poses as you, and make sure that all those layers are in effect so that nobody can do it.
Mm-hmm. All right. I like it. Any other common sense tips that you would advise people to follow for the coming year?
Hey man, like we've talked about this before, and this is just such 101. Like if I go to my website, right? If I type in, hold on, if I type in PRO real quick, right? And on my homepage, if you scroll down at protectnowllc.com, you scroll down to the very bottom, you see, hold on, right here. Check if your email has been breached, right? Check if your email has been breached, or check if your password has been breached, right? So you click on check if your password has been breached. And we type in PASSWORD, right? Password as a password. We have access to basically 13 billion stolen records.
Mhm.
Okay. And so I click if password has been breached as a password. And right here, it shows me that the word password has been used 9,636,205,000 times. I type in password 1, and it's been used 3,262,000 times. And bad guys know this. They know that you're using easy to guess, easy to hack, easy to crack passcodes to log into your accounts. So the best way to prevent the bad guy from getting in is to use a different passcode across multiple accounts and layer on top of that two-factor authentication. Now, for most people, you're not going to be able to remember all the different passwords for all the different accounts you're going to have. So the only way to go about this is to set up two-factor authentication. And I'm sorry, is to set up a password manager. You should type in PASSWORD, and then password manager pops right up. When you click that, on the first page of search, you're going to see all kinds of ads for Password Manager. And what I like to show people is this article at PC Magazine for the best password managers for 2023 and beyond. And right here, they've done all the research on what those password managers are. And you can search, Dashlane, Keeper, Zoho, Bitwarden, 1Password, LogMeOnce, Nord, RoboForm, and so forth. I like RoboForm. People like 1Password and so on. This way, the password manager will create a secure password for you. And every time you want to visit a various account, you just go to your password manager. It'll take you directly to the URL. It'll plug in the username. It'll plug in the passcode, and you're good. So use a password manager, create a different passcode for every account, use two-factor authentication, and really, that is 80% of InfoSec for most consumers.
Right. Okay. We buy that. I think that's a wise move. Apple computers have got the password manager built into it. Another thing that I've noticed that you can do with Apple lately is if you have an iCloud account, it will ask if you want to hide your email address, and it'll assign an alias email address for your account. And then if you don't like that vendor or that site ever again, you could just disable that email address, and whatever they send you will just bounce back.
Yeah. They're moving away from passcodes, moving towards pass keys. Essentially, they're going to identify your device recognition, device reputation, and that eventually is going to replace passcodes. But we could be as much as a decade away. I think you're going to see, some sites like Google's and Microsoft's and others that are going to, roll it out a lot quicker than others. That said, you still need a different passcode across all your various accounts.
Right. Okay. I like it. And I noticed also Verizon is doing something where when you try to access your account from a computer, it will actually send a link to your phone and saying somebody's trying to gain access to your account. Is this okay? Is it you? And I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, so that's a form of device recognition, and you have a cookie on your device. And when you have them recognize your device for so many days, they're going to talk to your device back and forth. And if somebody tries to log in from a different device that's not you, or let's just say you cleared out your cache, then they're going to ask, hey, is this you? So Google does that, Verizon does that, and others. That is a form of two-factor authentication that recognizes your device based on cookies you have on your machine. They see your MAC address and other aspects of IP address and so on.
So it sounds like they're not standing still. They're taking the initiative, and they're trying to come up with other more effective ways of doing this.
Well, they have to, because there's billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud every year. And the problem is getting worse. It's not getting any better, partly due to the fact that consumers are, like cattle. They're just like moo. And they're just they don't think it's going to happen to them. It's not going to happen to me. They function in denial. They don't do anything. Why bother? I have insurance. Why are they going to target me? I don't have good credit. Like all these excuses, and they make it really easy for the bad actor. And so these security companies, retailers, everybody, they need to put these systems in place to protect us from ourselves and from the bad guys, of course. And as long as, we invest a little bit of our life energy into understanding what our options are and putting these systems in place right now, again, you become a tougher target, and they're going to go after somebody. You just don't want them going after you.
All right. Well, hey, Robert, we always love having you come on because you give us actionable information that we can actually use to protect ourselves, to make our lives better. Where is the best place to find you these days?
Kerry, protectnowllc.com, protectnowllc.com. Check us out. We provide security awareness training and all kinds of services to, make sure that your network is tightened up.
All right. Excellent. If you got a question for Robert, for my guest, just shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. Make sure you go over to the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com, sign up for your free newsletter. You get information like this on a weekly basis. Robert, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.